Hey guys, this is Daniel with Pwn CNC, and let's talk about my laser. So I've got the FL-690. Check out the links in the description for if you're interested in this machine or something similar. But most of these machines, if they have a Rudia controller, you could basically do this exact same thing that I'm about to demonstrate, which is basically all about Lightburn. Stay with me and we'll dig into it. Okay, welcome back, and let's see. I chose Lightburn as my control software mostly because it's compatible with my Mac. I really like that. I haven't tried anything else really, but I know that this software is really nice. It's what I have already owned when I bought my JTech laser for my Shipoko. So understanding it, controlling it, a laser, and that sort of thing, all from the Lightburn software was super easy and very inherent for me anyways, because I'd already known the interface. It was very convenient for me to get started. So what I've done is basically used my, I'm using my Chinese laser here for the exact, with this same system. Super easy to control. You do need the advanced license for it. So let me check here. I believe it is the HST or whatnot. Basically, the more expensive license. So there's two licenses. The cheaper one I was able to get away with my JTech. It was about $40 a year. This one is more like $80 a year, somewhere close to that. Don't quote me on it, but just check out their site, lightburn.com, I believe. And the software basically allows me to pull in any graphics, edit them, manipulate them, design my cuts, and that sort of thing. So it's basically a CAD and a CAM software in one of sorts. So as far as the CAM software goes, you're basically compiling a G-code, and that G-code gets transmitted to the machine in various ways. And that's exactly what this video is about. There's three different ways that I've discovered. First is you can control it directly with USB drive or USB cable. So there's a USB cable that came with it. It basically has this rectangular connector at both ends. And here on the side of the laser, there's a spot here, and it's called just simply USB. And when you plug that in, and then plug that into your computer, in my case I've got a Mac, if you got a Windows that should work perfectly fine too. Let's cut over and let me see if I can figure out how to start recording. I believe it's, yep, Command-Shift-5. So over here on the right, let's get rid of image capture. There we go. Over here on the right, we can see that I've already got it configured here, but let's remove that, and we'll go and add it back in there. So we're going to let's see. Let's try to find my laser. Hasn't always worked, but we'll take a shot. So it looks like it's not finding it, but that's okay. So we will close that. We'll create manually. And what we're going to do is scroll down and find the Rudia, R-U-I-D-A. This is the, if you have the $40 or the cheaper license, you won't see this. So with this, with the more expensive license, you'll see the Rudia controller. Just choose Rudia, hit next. We're going to choose USB. Because that's the way we're going to connect it for now. I'm just going to call it Rudia. It is, in my case, in X-axis it is 900 millimeters, and in the Y-axis it is 600 millimeters. That's what this FL-690 is. If you've got the, what is it, 1390? 13 something. If you got the bigger machine, be sure to enter in your size. I always like to run from the rear right. That's where I like to home my machine. It's the origin. That's basically where the proximity switches are for homing the machine, so that the machine itself knows exactly where 0, 0 is, or at least coordinates is. And we're going to just hit finish and OK. Now, it should automatically connect, and you'll notice that over here on the right side it shows ready. So our machine is currently ready. If we take our little controller here, so on the left side of the Lightburn software is a control, and you can find all kinds of tutorials on running Lightburn, so this isn't a tutorial for Lightburn. I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I found interesting, and I'll probably learn more as I go along. But over here on the left, set laser position by just clicking the screen. So I'm going to click that, I'm going to click that, and my laser will actually move. I'm sure it's hard to see, we'll slip over and it's moved. And then of course if I move it click it to a different spot, the machine moves to another spot. So far, I have not hooked up a camera, and that's on my plan. But for now, what I do is whenever I have a design, so let me open up just one of my generic designs that I've got here. Let's do my window left. So this is one of my production designs here. It's basically my window for my Shipoko covers. So what I like to do is I take my pointer here, bring it down, and I can even zoom in on that corner. So what I've done is there's a gray box here that encircles the entire job. That gray box, which I've set up to C27 here, and turned off the output. What that is the exact size of my stock material for my acrylic, which is 18 inches by 24 inches. So what I like to do is zoom in on that bottom left corner and send my laser to that exact spot. Now, with the machine homed, I'd already stuck my stock material on there, and then I set it at this bottom left corner, and then I can move my stock to that position so that it's right there. And then, and here, let me demonstrate. Let me go get a stock material. I'll be right back. We'll move that camera around. So here I've got the stock material. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and move my laser head way out of the way here. And this is the rudimentary way that I'm doing it without the camera. I don't know what the stock looks like in the system. I'm basically guessing based on the waves of this smaller mesh bed as to where the orientation of the left and right. I've got to figure something out for that. But for now, I just throw my stock in there, zoom in on my bottom left corner, and move my laser to that position, which basically moves the head of the laser way over here to the bottom left. Now what I do now is, since I know exactly that the virtual view of my bed and my stock don't line up, I will adjust. I'll move the stock over until it meets the red laser dot, right? The very bottom corner of that stock material, right on that laser dot. Check out another video for configuring that laser dot. But now, when I zoom out, I can hit this frame button, and I watch very carefully on my stock material to make sure that the head of the laser does actually line up with all the edges of my stock material. Now, before I do that, I turn on the outer frame. That's my stock material size. I hit frame, and I carefully watch the laser as it's running along, keeping my hands away from the machine. and carefully watch the laser as it's running along the very far edge of my stock. And I do that a couple of times until I make sure that the stock is perfectly in line with what the machine thinks it is virtually. So I can keep hitting that frame button, make sure that the laser runs right along the outer edge, make minor adjustments to the stock just to get it lined up until it is perfect. Once it's perfect, then I can run my cut. Now again, this is my rudimentary way of doing it. I'm trying to maximize my stock with the design that I have. So I've got what I forget how many copies of this one part that I have on my screen here. But I want to maximize the amount of stuff, material that gets cut. And if you do that carefully, you'll end up with something like this, which, if you'll notice, I've maximized the amount of cuts that I've made out of my stock. Yeah, but I've done that technique where I've framed it out, made sure that the laser was always on all edges of the stock material, and then I was able to run my cut. So, since this is a discussion about how to send this G-code to the laser, we're going to do it in 3 different ways. I'm not going to turn the laser on, so I'll get it started, let it run through the process, and then I'll stop it eventually, but let it run and get started so you guys can see exactly how to run it. So, number 1, we've got it hooked up to via USB. I've positioned my stock perfectly, close my laser, start my laser, start my extractor, and start my air assist. So I've got 3 buttons down here. The chiller for the laser is always on. I never turn that off. There's air extraction and another switch for air assist. So I turn both of those on, turn my laser on, then right back over here at the machine, I hit start. And what that does is it wraps up the G-code, sends it to the radio controller, which immediately starts the laser and starts positioning it. With the laser off, we're basically doing a dry run, which is awesome because that way I can see exactly what it's going to do. Of course, in the software, even with it, so it's already sent, I can now turn off my laptop and walk away, let it do its thing, keep an ear out, keep a close monitor on it, and then come back the certain amount of time. Well, the question is, well, what is that certain amount of time? In one of the most used features for Lightburn that I've used is this preview button. So there's a preview, it looks like a little monitor screen. When you click it, you can actually hit play and watch exactly what it's going to do. You'll notice it does the first top 3 on the right, then it does 3 more, and we can actually watch it do its thing right down on the top right. And it'll eventually run through all of this, and if I let it go all the way, looks like it takes, its estimated time is about 29 minutes for this particular process. So to cut an entire 18 by 24 inch piece of acrylic at my current settings, which is what, 90 millimeters per second and 60% power, that's about what it'll do. So I can hit go and I can hit stop here because these controls down here in the bottom right are controlling the machine. So if I hit stop, it will return to origin because that's where I chose the machine to move. Okay, so your question may be, okay, well, what are the other 2 methods for designing a file in Lightburn, getting it over to the machine, and letting it run? Option number 2 is a USB drive, and this is the actual drive that came with the machine. I'm going to drop that into my USB port here. And there it goes. And of course it pops up on my screen eventually. There it goes. Here's my machine. Of course I've already got a couple of RD files in there, but we're going to take this file here and we're going to save, in the bottom right, we're going to save RD file. And we're going to save it to my USB drive, and I'm going to name it a window. So one thing to note, their controller software here runs by the super simple 8 characters dot 3 character format. So be sure that if you be sure to abbreviate no long file names here. So keep it really short so you can see on the screen exactly what it is. So I'm going to save that RD file, and now I've got the RD file on my USB drive. I will eject that disk. I now have it, and I'm going to reposition you. I'm going to stop the camera, reposition you so you can actually see the screen, but I'm going to plug this USB drive into the port that says U disk. So give me just a second. Okay, so here we are. I've got the USB drive plugged in. I've got the computer unplugged from the USB cable, but I've got the USB drive plugged into the U disk setting. And here is the touch panel, the Rudia controller touch panel for my FJ690. So I've got it plugged in. I'm going to go into, where is it, File. And over here on the left, you'll notice, so these are a couple of files that I've got preloaded into the memory of my controller. But I'm going to go down to disk. Yep, sorry. Hit the right, down. There it goes. Now I'm on U disk, and I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to hit enter again because it's already highlighted read U disk. So I've got 3 files on there. One is boot v3, which is my Dustboot version 3 acrylic, my stepper covers, and of course my window left, which is technically my stepper covers for the left side. But if I go down to Win left, and then hit to the right button and go down to copy to memory, it has now copied the file to the memory disk, and I just hit escape, and then escape again, and now you can see over here on the left, this is the memory. At this point, I can unplug the USB drive. It is no longer needed. It's just copying that file over, and of course now I have those files in here. And you'll notice I've already copied window left on here previously, but this is the WinL is the new file. I can scroll down and see a preview of what's going to happen for this. And you'll notice this is my Windows version, or my Dustboot version 3 acrylic. Over here is my the right stepper cover acrylic. And then of course here's my another copy of my left. So they're basically the same thing. So we're going to go up to the Win left, which is the file I just copied over. And we are going to hit enter. So now that file is now loaded. It's the first thing that's going to be run. Ignore some of these settings. They don't really apply until it actually starts. But we're going to start by running this. So the system is there. So if you've got the file in here already and you're just starting it from the controller here without using your computer at all, how do you align your stock? Well, there's a frame button. So once you've got your disk or your file loaded, hit the frame button, and your laser will frame out your stock material. It takes just a second to run, but that way you can do exactly that same technique that I showed you before, which is align the stock to the laser, hit the frame button as many times as you need, and it will outline the entire project, everything it's going to cut, so that you can make sure that your stock material is sitting in the perfect position for the laser. So once you're ready to go, all you do is hit start. And it's doing its thing. It's going to start running through the entire file at the speed, at the max power, And of course, it shows you the XYZ coordinates, which Z, I guess, is technically always at the same level since you're manually up and downing it. But yeah. So I'm going to stop that. And of course, you can stop the progression of that file. You could do that even when connected via USB or via some other, or the third method, which I'll show you in just a second. Or you can just hit the emergency stop if you run into a serious problem where you need to stop. The machine's damaging itself. It's scraping along the mesh bed, or it's ramming into the corner or something like that. Hit emergency stop, you're good to go. Now remember, the only difference between a dry run and an actual production run is if you were to actually hit the laser button. Now, obviously when you hit the laser button, make sure you put your extractor on and your air assist, because that will help you with giving you a clean cut. But yeah, if you leave those off and your laser switch off, if you hit start, it'll basically do a dry run. Nice and convenient. It's good for confidence. So let's switch over to the third method of controlling your machine. So the third method of controlling your machine will basically turn your printer into a network device. This is essentially doing what I do with my CNC machines using CNC.js, where I can remotely control the machine over the network, over my Wi-Fi or whatnot, on my computer through a web browser. It's super easy. But with the Lightburn software, I'm basically controlling it through Lightburn right here on the machine. So, one notation. On the side of the machine, there is a port for a network wire. This is not a wireless device. This is wired. So I ran a network cable from behind my machine up, and you'll actually see it right there. It's wrapped around the fire hydrant, because I haven't properly attached it to the side of the machine yet. Haven't decided how I want to do that, and I don't want it interfering with my garage door, which is literally right there. So I've got my Ethernet cable running up along the ceiling, way over here to the front corner, which is where my networking drop is, and I've got a network switch and all that over there. And I understand online there is something where I could turn this into a wireless device. I haven't researched that yet. It'll be interesting to look into that. But for right now, I've just hardwired it. And let's jump over to the software, and we will configure the Rudia device over the Ethernet. So on the software, here, let me hit Command-Shift-5. There we go. And record. So we're recording the entire screen here. So on the right, you'll see devices. So I'm going to click devices, and we're going to create another manual device. Scroll down to Rudia again, and this time I'm going to choose Ethernet/UDP. Click next, and of course I know the network address of my machine. If you don't know that, check into your router to identify what yours will be. I'm going to say Rudia -Ethernet, just so that I know the difference. I know which one I'm trying to connect to. But again, type in my, 900 by 600. Next, right rear, just like before. And confirm my settings and hit finish. And OK. And it will, over here on the right, you'll now see, in fact, let me jump in there real quick. I'm going to go in and edit. Let's rename this booger for the USB. USB. Just so that I know exactly which is which. So over here on the right, I'm going to jump and switch to the Rudia Ethernet. And of course, it automatically connects because my laser has already connected to my network. It's been connected this entire time, which means that this entire time I could connect via Ethernet and right into my controller. So literally nothing has changed. It is exactly the same as if you were to plug it in via USB. So plugging it in USB, you can control it, hit frame, hit start, hit stop, run to the origin, control it by pointing, sending the laser machine to a certain spot on your bed, and that's what you see visible here. It's all the same. The only difference is it's over network, and which means it's wireless. So theoretically, I could just stand up, walk to the other room, control my laser, but it is a tool, and it is a laser after all, so we want to be keeping an eye on what's going on. So you should be in the same room, but it lets you easily control it, so that's awesome. Exact same thing happens. You can test it, frame it, identify where your stock is and all that. So I hope you found that useful. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, comments, maybe suggestions on maybe how I can improve my videos or improve my laser. But yeah, hopefully this was a good intro. The very next video that I'm going to publish, I promise, is on air extraction. I've solved it. Yes! The smell is still there, but that's okay. I'll figure something out for that. But at least the air extraction is solved. Be sure to like and subscribe. This is Daniel with Pwn CNC. And remember, don't just own your CNC or laser. Dominate it.